Hello again, and welcome to Wellness Way USA radio show. I'm your host, Jeb Odom. Today we have in studio our integrative health coach, Lori Newcomer. Welcome.
Thank you.
You have some topics today you want to speak about?
I did. I was just kind of wanted to go over the integrative health coaching process model.
Okay, so this is what you do
Mm-hmm.
for our company, for the members that we provide our services to. This is your role, one of your roles.
Yes.
Is the integrative health side.
Yes.
Okay, so let's do it. Go for it.
A lot of people ask what integrative health is.
Okay.
And basically just trying to help address issues or boundaries and help them overcome them.
Okay, so let's go through the process. Let's imagine that we are a new patient coming in to see you, or a new member coming in to speak to you about how to do this. How does this, in a nutshell, how does this work?
We would go over a personal health plan, strategies for that, create an optimal health vision. So ask questions on your vision and how you see yourself and what you would be doing in specific details. And then identifying the value of it. How important is that to you to be able to do those things with the people you love, or whatever it is that goal you have to do the change?
Okay, so this is a process of how many steps?
There are 9 steps.
Okay.
And I use the process model from Duke Integrative Medicine. They actually have a Wheel of Health that I like to use as well. And on it has some topics that sometimes kind of help them with their personal health plan. There's actually a book that you can question and answers to kind of help you get motivated to see where to promote it. There's mind and body connection, which you and I talk about frequently with your fasting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I like that we're exploring this for people, because many people that exercise or maybe want to get on an exercise program, they don't even think about this stuff until they're involved in it, and then they're lost a little bit because there's no
what's overwhelming
program to follow, or
normally
they don't understand what their body's doing.
Exactly. And a lot of people go in there with like the trainer mindset, or they Google a diet or a workout plan, and that's where they start. And they get into it, they start to see some change, and then maybe they aren't really sure why they're doing it or what is important about that. Why do I want to lose that weight? Is it to fit in that dress? Is it to be more active or to feel better? They're not really sure at the time, and it doesn't have a value. So then that's whenever they lose interest and they kind of give up. It was like, oh, that was too hard. I really don't see the worth in continuing this process.
So step one is come to see you.
Yes, to see me. And then at that point, we will discuss the Wheel of Health, or I can email it ahead of time. And that, like I said, the mind-body connection, there's movement and exercise and rest. So you kind of grade yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. And these areas that you feel are strong and the areas that you want to work on as well.
So basically you're assessing your entire lifestyle.
Yeah, you get to assess it yourself. You don't have me telling you what's good and bad. You decide what's a priority.
Because our approach is geared toward
self-help,
self-care.
Yes.
Right. And we're not saying that you need us forever. What we're trying to say is that our platform is designed to educate you to where you can do it on your own.
Exactly.
Because the goal, in our opinion, and it may cost us some customers eventually if they all get well, but our goal is to make everybody healthy.
Absolutely. This is for you to have those goals and in your vision, the things that you want to meet, and what in getting there. And then that's what the integrative coach will help you find that path to connect those two, to, I guess, that kind of transition. So, and also nutrition, it can be spirituality, relationship and communication. There's physical environment, just like it could be something as simple as not liking a room in your house.
So what you're saying is someone could come to you, and although we are a wellness company, most people perceive wellness as some sort of health and fitness thing.
Yes.
But it could be not related to health and fitness.
Mental health. I mean, it even personal and professional development, communication, pretty much any of those. Because if there's someone in your life that maybe y'all don't communicate very well, which I hear about all the time in marriages after so many years, or, raising children. And then at that point, they feel like they don't have an interest any longer because they lost that. And we can start with that. I mean, it could be of any type, not just how many push-ups you can do and eating, Brussels sprouts.
What's the most common thing that people want to change?
Perspective. Honestly.
Okay, what do you mean by that? I mean, that could mean several things.
Oh, yeah. They'll come in, they say, I want to eat healthier. But ultimately, it comes down to they want to think differently about the healthier foods. They want to find a way to implement it in their life with their routine, if it's work or being busy or their family, as we discussed a pod.
More practical.
Yes. Yeah. And so it's that helps them.
And people may wonder why we focus so much on the practical, but what we realized a while back was that's really what people need.
Yeah,
they can find the information, especially if we link it or we tell them where to find it and they can read it. Or if they don't want to read it, they could listen to these things like the radio shows and podcasts that we kind of dissect that information and get the meat out of it. And
how to implement it in a practical manner.
Right, because I think practicality is probably the hardest part of all of it. I think everybody can figure out what you need to do to be healthy.
Oh, yeah.
And I know everyone is a little different, but for the most part, it's pretty much a given of what to do.
Yeah, everybody's
you could adjust different things.
Yeah, eat protein, eat a vegetable every day, do 30 minutes of walking.
If it was so easy,
then we would all be healthy.
Right.
And you and I would be out of a job.
The problem is the practical side.
Yes.
That's the way we see it, and maybe those fears.
Yes. Even the practical part, not just on nutrition or eating healthier, but I'll have someone who says, hey, I went to the doctor and, I had high cholesterol, hypertension, these issues, and that now they're talking about putting me on another medication. And before, borderline pre-diabetic, all these things. And they said, I need to make these changes. It hands me a list of foods to avoid, things to do, exercising, implementing new strategies and health in their life. And they're like, I don't know how to make time for this, to, do my meals, to eat healthy and fast food. And that's whenever I help them figure out what really would work in their life, how they can do that and find the time.
So step one
is creating an optimal health vision.
Okay. And how in the most basic sense, what does it mean and how do you accomplish that?
Well, in the first step, where creating your plan is to complete a personal health inventory. And that is to assess where you are now and where you want to be.
So questions kind of like what?
How do I picture my best health? And how would I like to feel and look? Be specific. I mean, because how would you like to look? If it was something that you wore, your wedding day, and now you want to be able to fit into it again, or an old, pair of pants, or
do you think maybe sometimes the goals are a little short-sighted?
I do.
Okay.
I think so. Then that's what activities would you like to be able to do that you're not doing now? So that's pretty specific.
And wouldn't you figure that most people that are probably 45 to 50 have some kind of problem with doing things they want to do?
Oh, absolutely. It's going on vacation with grandkids and doing, certain activities, stairs, just walking theme parks. I mean, Busch Gardens or Disney, that would be difficult for some.
Even young people.
It's difficult for me.
that aren't in shape.
Yes.
They might have problems with this.
Yes. Hey, tying shoes. I mean, I hear that a lot.
Yep.
I mean, there are road workers out there bust and hump all day long, but yet just that bending down and that stretching, tying their shoes.
They use their backs a lot, probably a little tightness.
A lot of it. It's not even the belly or overweight. Sometimes it's just literally just that stretch and being a movement that they're not used to. So some more questions to kind of get in depth and have the wheels really turning is, what's most important as you think about your best health and as you picture it. What is most important? Is there someone there with you? Is it a grandchild that you're getting to, chase around or throw the ball with in the front yard, or, activities like that?
Yeah. Yeah. And every situation's different. So when you have members come in and it's kind of like you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
They could say anything.
And I've heard it all. So, I mean, to get even more into it, and like you said, that the goals short-sighted, and so if you don't have a value to that vision, that you can't make it personal, that goal, and it's not just a pair of pants or a reunion coming up, but to then also ask them, if you didn't make that change, what would change? If you didn't make those changes
Yeah,
now,
what limitations are you going to have?
that pre-diabetic,
Right.
you would have diabetes. What comes after that? Medication. I mean, and then you're talking, some people lose feeling and amputation. I mean, it could be very bad.
We want
Vision.
people to, with self-care, our main idea is to promote themselves to be able to do the things they want to do for as long as they're alive.
Absolutely. That's what asking someone, giving them a timeline. Normally, the process with me is like 3 to 6 months, and that's normally a good time for us to plan SMART goals, which we'll discuss more. But asking them in 3 years, if you did nothing, what it would be like, or if you made these changes and implemented what in your life, what would be the best case scenario?
And people probably can understand which direction their health is going.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like, as I think back to my life, I can remember when it slid the wrong way and the reasons and how I felt. And I can remember when it slid a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as people are kind of aware of themselves, which is something we like to talk about, be aware of how you actually are.
Yeah.
Don't lie to yourself.
That's that scale really helps them, because it's only between you. I mean, because you could say, for instance, I'll say, Jeb, where do you lie in environment?
And I would ask, what do you mean by that?
And let's say work or personal.
Okay.
If it's home or if it's your office.
Yeah. And what do you mean by environment? Like what I'm eating, or the environment I'm in around people, or the physical environment?
Any of them above.
Okay.
Is there
so
anything?
Some kind of problem creeping up somewhere?
Yes. Can you think of something, and what would you rate it from a 1 to 10? Of 10 would be
This
ideal
is tough
situation.
because everybody's going to hear this.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Okay, let's say a hypothetical.
Okay.
Let's just say you said a 3 because my mom designed my office.
Yeah, I got a friend.
Okay, I've got a friend. Do you want to share, or do you want me to keep?
No, things like that wouldn't bother me, but let's just say that it did.
Okay.
Okay. So let's say that I feel totally out of place in my office because it's not decorated the way I want. It really bothers me, and I'm in a bad mood when I walk in every day. Something like that.
Sure.
Okay.
Let's just go with something pretty shallow here. So,
Yeah.
I mean, not saying
I'm
that's
not
a shallow.
like that, but that
I'm saying
actually
something
could have happened.
Light on the surface is what I meant.
But I'm saying that could have happened.
Oh yeah, like I
It's just
hate
the
my
way
bedroom.
I take it.
Yes, like right now at home, like I hate my bedroom. Like it would get a low score because I want different colored walls, or whatever the case is. But okay, let's go with your room because your mom decorated it, so it's a 3.
Yeah.
So next,
And it's not like it's bad. It's just
exactly, because then I would ask you, why is it as high as a 3 instead of a 1?
well, decoration's a 3, but the temperature is probably like a 10.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
that's what has good.
Right.
So there are great things. And then what would be, how important is it to make the decoration, the visual part of it, higher?
0.
So you don't want to change it? But it's
not important to me. I mean,
Okay, well
this is
then-
how it would really go, right?
No, then you wouldn't have
then
came
I'll
in
just
like that.
have a different answer?
Okay, well you would only come because it would be high
Yeah,
importance.
like if
That's
it was
what
just
this was.
all hot pink, I
Ab-
might not care, but I'd still want it changed,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it
All right.
forced me to care.
It forced you to care. Okay. Well, everyone, his office is not hot pink, but his mother did decorate it because it was her old office.
and
But it's
it's
actually
just-
pretty cool looking,
it's-
industrial.
Yeah.
I wanted it, but
It's nothing that anybody
okay.
says anything
so
about.
we're gonna move along because
I
that
actually
one
get
was
a lot of compliments, and I'm
I
like,
know,
great,
it
because
is
I
an
did
awesome-
nothing for that.
Yeah, it's even the big hat, the feathered hat up there, the girly decorations,
There's a lot
the
of things
boot.
that are questionable. Yeah.
No. Okay. So the second step would be, after creating your personal health plan, it would be deciding on a focus. And what areas of your health or whatever the case is at the time, mental health, physical health, would you like to focus on? What specific long-range outcomes and would you like to achieve? Like, I mean, for an example, say you wanted to lose 30 pounds in 6 months or stop smoking or improve overall fitness. I mean, et cetera, anything like that.
Yeah. And would you, now, if somebody had a goal like that, like lose 10 pounds in a month, I mean, that's a lot, but
yeah, depending on their body weight.
Would you kind of say, hey, that's a good goal, but let's also make some kind of maintenance plan for after that, because your life goes on. And if you just abandon it after you lose the weight, then.
Yeah, the maintenance part. What I would do is ask them, is that a SMART goal? And what that means is specific. Your goals should be clear and concise. And then measurable. Can you track that progress? So some things are goals that you can't.
So a maintenance would be difficult to track unless you just tracked what you did.
Well, first we would attack the 10 pounds because
Okay,
there
so
wouldn't be
let's
maintenance.
say,
Maintenance wouldn't come until that's reached.
They nailed that, and then they go to a maintenance.
Well,
or does it work that way?
Normally, people don't come to me for 10 pounds. Maybe it would be something more that would take a 3 to 6 month thing.
So something more serious,
even
like 30 pounds or 40 pounds or some kind of mobility
or even if
issue.
it wasn't, maybe mobility or anything like that. So I'd say specific. So if it was specifically they wanted to walk up, 10 flights of stairs, be able to do that physically, then is it measurable? Of course, you can eventually, you'll do 3, 7, get to 10, build it up. Action oriented. If the goal includes action, which in this case it would, and if it's something you can control, like of course if stairs are inside, but if it was something that was outside, running bleachers, the weather, things like that, how would you work around? Or if they say they're running a 5K,
more practical,
yeah, something. And then realistic. Is that goal realistic? Is like if someone came to me and said I want to lose 30 pounds in 30 days,
and they were 90 pounds.
Yes, that's not realistic.
Right.
So, and then timed. You need to have it specific, measurable, and the realistic action. Everything timed, giving yourself a time limit. So then you actually have an end game. So
what if
does
you
that make
just
sense?
enjoy the process of figuring it out like I do? Like I enjoy trying to figure out how my body responds to
But never
different
changing?
scenarios. No, it does change. But I like to kind of, I don't know, treat myself kind of like a science project with how my body responds to different behaviors and
But
food.
whenever you find that perfect outcome,
Yeah, which I still haven't
do
found.
you, okay, so
Yeah.
I was, okay, next thing I would ask someone is on the readiness to change. Okay, because we chose our focus and then explore and support readiness to change. And one of the questions would, importance on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it? The pros and cons of not changing. The future without the change, making changes or not, and then confidence. So then I would ask, have you tried something in the past that has worked?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And normally everyone has done
Right.
something that's
Right.
worked. It
So
just didn't keep it.
You want to let people know that they have achieved success
Mm-hmm.
and they can do it again.
Absolutely. Explore their strengths and what specifically did work for you at that time, and self-knowledge and on those past experiences. So, because like you said, most people do know what to do. They just don't know how to implement it, or they have obstacles to overcome.
You would generally say, I think I would, maybe I shouldn't say you. I would generally say that most people that are in good shape know it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't know you're in good shape, you're probably not. Wouldn't you say that? I mean,
that's
maybe,
a safe.
and
That's a safe.
You could still be in shape if you absolutely do hardly anything. If you have like a physical job and you just happen to eat well,
Mm-hmm.
you could be. But for the most part, people know
Yeah.
where they stand.
And I mean, I've had people come to me,
And that's what the survey's about, right?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I mean they've come to me that they really don't know what to do next to implement that, to reach that goal. I had a gentleman, he wanted to start eating healthier with his wife, and time management was an issue for preparation. So then I suggested brainstorming. So I said, okay, well, could you, because they had a dog that had to be walked. So could you walk the dog at in the morning. So then that would leave you afternoon time to cook. And he's like, yeah. Or could you go grocery shopping on Sunday versus, during the weeknight, which would end up being a going out night. And back and forth, and him actually leaving with all these wonderful ideas that he couldn't come up with at first until we started doing some little triggers and helping his wife cook or doing things together, because that was also building their relationship. So it was really neat. So you could also not only the self-knowledge and your past experiences, exploring those strengths, but also brainstorming to kind of help find new ideas to implement in your life that would work. But the key in the integrative health coaching is for them, the client, to come up with those ideas. Now,
Yeah, you're more like a manager.
exactly.
And they're the
Because
boxer.
if I keep suggesting that I'm not any better than a trainer, saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to train you today, but when you leave, you need to do all this."
Yeah.
I mean, on your own, and it doesn't normally happen. I don't get those full food journals or that running.
So the buy-in is important.
Yes. So, but we do explore some brainstorming options. And if needed, I do offer resources and education if that's requested, or I'll volunteer it if they just absolutely aren't sure. But we explore what else is needed in order to raise the confidence. That's a big thing, is someone leaving with the confidence that they can do it.
They know they can do it, or they at least think they can.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is, if you think you can, essentially you can in the long run, because it's all mental.
A series of little steps
just as
that you have to keep making that right choice.
Dr. Corvino says, those who pre-diabetic, they're having that hankering for sugar that they don't need. But again, it's some of it is a physical urge, but it's mental to overcome it.
Yeah, and like we said, or like I said, fasting's easier for me than not eating sugar. You know? So everybody's different, and that craving for bad food is intense.
It is. And then that's just finding the right thing. I mean, when I was training, my weakness was Krispy Kreme. I always wanted those donuts. And I guess even when I didn't eat it that much before, I wanted it because I couldn't have it.
It's weird because it changes over time. Like what you really liked when you were younger, it's not like I used to love certain donuts, and now I don't like the same ones anymore.
Oh, I can't eat a donut out of a bag now, or a grocery store donut. I mean, like, I can't do it. Like, nothing about it tastes good.
Yeah.
But overcoming those urges is, I used to want those hot Krispy Kremes. So one day, your mom knows this story too. One day I put a prune in the microwave, and then I got one of those paper Krispy Kreme hats, and I set up in my bed against a headboard, and I turned the light out, and I slowly ate that warm prune wearing that paper hat, Krispy Kreme, and just imagined it was a donut.
So do you have a counselor yourself?
Okay, that was many years ago. And so, but yeah, I mean, I had to mentally, overcome that as well. But in stage 6, after you're setting those 3 to 6 month SMART goals and the weekly action steps, we then prepare in stage 7 to prepare for action. Explore a typical day. Explore potential barriers that you would have.
So this is them showing you, opening that door or opening that window, so you can peek into their life a little bit to help them, guide them.
But primarily, it's for them to acknowledge their life. Realize it.
Self-actualization.
Yes, because whenever you say it, then, I mean, if I reflect it back, sometimes they're like, wow, you're right. That really is. And I'm not right. They just said it. I'm just repeating what they just said. They are right. And now they're acknowledging it. I mean, it's, I'm just so busy. I don't have this. I guess I could do that, but and I just would choose to do this. And it's like, okay, well, then.
Are most solutions pretty simple?
Honestly, they are, because the client comes up with it. And then it's a lot easier for them to implement because it was their idea and they think it'll work.
It's kind of, this reminds me of a similar process of learning, which was when I was younger and I was learning how to baseball bat, right? How to be a batter. And everybody kind of knows how to swing a bat to begin with, but it's all the little adjustments
Yeah, the
over
elbow.
time.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that's kind of what we do here. It's these little adjustments. So as you get one part figured out, you move into the next part to figure out. You constant refinement.
Yep.
That's kind of how I see it.
That's exactly it. And whenever you come up with those refining, key points yourself, it's easier to act on them in your life and implement them versus someone giving you a list of things to do that first you forget, next might not really mesh with your normal lifestyle.
Right.
But so then once you explore the potential barriers to achieving the action steps, create backup plans. So if it's like, yeah, I want to go for a walk every day when I get home from school, from work. I'm obviously
That's so
thinking about
true.
school right now.
That's so true. I
Then
mean,
it's raining or it's too
yeah.
cold
Yeah, it's the what
or
if.
you're sick.
What if this, then?
Yeah.
If this, then. So
Then it's like, well, what can I do? If I was going to exercise 3 days a week, then okay, the backup day, let's roll it. Is Sunday best for you or Saturday, whatever it is, or time.
yeah, that's
So
huge. That's one of the more difficult things for me to accomplish is those
overcoming
backup
those
plans, because
obstacles.
things change. And so when things change, you still want to accomplish your goal. And sometimes you don't know how to do that.
And then having those backup plans, and the next step is accountability. What holds you accountable? My sister and I, we have this ongoing thing that we exercise each day, and we have to text each other, and whoever didn't exercise owes the other one $1. So if we both exercise, it's $0 exchanged.
Or if she's rich, you're gonna have to be the one that exercises.
It's only $30 a month. But no, we did it more as just something fun to say, okay, you have to write me a check.
It's almost like her paying you to go through the misery of exercise.
Yeah. So it's like, whatever. I mean, it might end up being like $5 or $6 one way or the other at the end of the month, but it would be, normally it's me writing the check, but still it's just the fact that, if I don't work out that month, then
she cashed them.
She does plan on cashing them. But so kind of just, we make it fun. But accountability, you could be someone else that you want to be accountable to. If it's your doctor, if it really is health issues and taking your medicine or exercising, so that keep a journal and report into your doctor every 3 months on that checkup that you have.
So it's really the most important thing to you at that time. And could you manage different levels at once, or do you usually like to focus on one thing?
Depends on what it is. I have had clients where we go into it and we're making the action steps, and then we find it's something different. I had this one that was just dead set. Wait. I want to lose weight. I want to do this. I want to, and they could get a vision and they could see themselves doing something and specific detail. But when it came down to it, the food was still controlling them.
And we understand that.
But it was depression that was fueling that. And that is what had them, why were you eating that?
Food gives the person a good feeling.
Yes.
And
it was
what they use to make themselves feel better.
But that's what was keeping from the weight. So we ended up having to redirect and start all the way over.
It wasn't the craving for food. It was the craving to feel better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then we had to explore strategies on how to make them feel better on their own. And she did try medication for a while, but then ended up dropping the medication. Where we tried some more meditation and breathing techniques and explored all kinds of other things that produced endorphins and just got her excited about herself and changed her way of thinking.
Try dopamine fast?
Dopamine fast. We did not try that, but I'll keep that in my arsenal.
That was kind of a joke.
Yeah.
Because
I know.
If you want to check out our dopamine fast show, you can. It should be on our channel.
Yes. No, I still feel the same about that. I'm not sure. It's still the verdict's
I wasn't
out.
trying to derail you, but I just thought it was a good time to bring it up.
Yeah, but no, it's ended up, so it changed that and it worked out for her and everything was great. So yeah, we do change things, but normally I would say let's do one thing at a time. So if it's communication, or you're having issues with a coworker, and then us exploring that, and then let's move into nutrition.
There's a lot of energy and thought in changing one single part of your life. So maybe get spread too thin if you try and do too much.
Exactly. Because say we go over the average day and all these barriers, action steps, how to hold yourself accountable. And every single bit of that was on nutrition. Well, then you hit me with, hey, I, want my office changed. Well, then, okay, well, then we got to start back over and say, okay, well, when will you have time to pack up your stuff so you could, or, move things around to repaint or to whatever.
And is that more important
Yeah. And which one is a priority?
Yeah.
And, which one do you see yourself, what would really affect you if you didn't make that change right now? So, and then we might go back to the nutrition, say, okay, well, let's see through it. And then the maintenance, we can start over with a new goal.
Right. Yeah.
So normally I find that that's easier to do. And then on stage 8, it is initiating that action step and assessing it.
Boy, that's the big one.
That is it.
That's
that's
the one you deal with every single day.
Yeah. But the bad thing is if you go to, sometimes if you talk to someone and you want their opinion, or you go to the internet, or you get a personal trainer, they never really evaluate 1 through 7. They just jump straight into 8. So it's like, oh, you want abs? Start doing crunches and go take this diet. Well, guess what? You might do it for a week or two,
but to sustain it.
Yeah. And then you're going to be like, well, why am I doing this again? Never mind. That pizza means
I've
more.
I've actually been through that that I got myself down to, I'll say, a level of body fat that I was quite pleased with. And I don't think I sustained it more than a week.
Yeah, because it was like, well, wait a minute. How important is it?
Well,
you
no,
didn't...
what I did was I set new goals. So I had trimmed down and I set new goals for building muscle. And it messed everything up again. So I had to start over with a new approach.
Well, normally that's why I would recommend, if you're going to do something of that extreme, I would say maintain that for a little bit first, which is in stage 9.
Yeah.
And once you're comfortable with that and you repeat something, they say if you did something, read something, or repeated it in action 10,000 times, then it's in your subconscious.
We would have to check my ego, which is tough sometimes, because that's really what drove that decision was, I want to have a little more muscle mass.
Yeah.
When I should have maybe cemented that lifestyle change first.
Yeah, kind of whatever you were doing at the time, if it was diet, if it was cardio, whatever time.
It was kind of similar to what I'm doing now, which was, like cardio every other day, weights every other day, which doesn't promote muscle building as quickly, but it does promote the fat loss.
Yeah, I would have said stick with that with maybe 6 weeks. Everybody's different, but just like when you learn to drive and in the blinker or whatever you do, that is what you do is your trait. They say once you repeat something, so many times, and 10,000 is a nice magic number, that you do it subconsciously and you don't even realize it at that point. Driving home, you don't think about your directions home unless it's, you're trying to avoid traffic. You just do it because that's what you do.
You don't remember what you did.
Nope. And that's where I would say right now, let's stay in that maintaining the behavior change before you added something that extreme.
Seems to me to be significant. Significant
now,
step.
if you're going to a different area and it's like, okay, well, I've done this, and you still wanted to enforce your nutrition more, if you wanted to go back to
like a
mindfulness,
slight refinement,
maybe.
Maybe.
Or something even totally opposite, but not in the same category, because now you're playing against each other.
Going, and then try and work on something different.
Yeah. So, so whenever you are doing your action steps, I would constantly, as I meet with them bi-weekly, acknowledge the successes of that time or that week or those 2 weeks. And if there were some failures or hiccups or barriers that they didn't overcome, then acknowledge those, but then also let them get those out of their system, but really focus on the successes.
And success and failure is part of every step, no matter what.
So how many cigarettes did you not smoke that day?
Right.
Focus on that, because even though you did end up doing that later and you went back to 5 the next, you did only 4 the day before.
Right. As long as you made some sort of progression.
And maximize the learning. What triggered that excess? If it was food or the lack of exercising or the smoking more, what triggered that? Was it a stressful day?
We kind of learned about anxiety.
Yeah.
It kind of, you go through a stressful situation and then the anxiety comes later sometimes.
Yeah.
So that would make sense. You need to really analyze what caused the problem.
Absolutely. And then try to work on eliminating that. And sometimes that ends up festering a whole new goal later.
You may have to change your entire life.
I guess.
If it was a job.
Yes.
And it was a job that was causing your problems, you may have to change your entire life. I remember a friend of mine growing up, his dad was a doctor, and he was very stressed out and had some health problems from it, and ended up leaving practicing medicine to become a mail carrier because it was a less stressful for him, so he would survive. So yeah, I mean, I guess there's no limit on what we may have to change to produce results that we want.
Yeah.
And they're results that we want. That's the difference here, I think. It's not results that you think you want. It's the results that you've actually dug in there and with their life said, hey, this is the most important thing to me right now.
Yes,
so it's
and
not
they
like
said that. I
you're
didn't
not
say it to
telling
them.
them,
Yes.
hey, you need to lose 10 pounds,
No.
because realistically, even if we look at a person and we think they might need to lose a little weight, we don't really know for sure.
You don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they might need that weight. Maybe they're, it could be any reason.
Yeah, maybe they have to work, a job that they can't eat for, 24 hours. It could happen. So a little weight on you is not bad, in my humble opinion.
And you're allowed to have that.
You figure.
Yeah, you never know. And that's where non-judging is that
you're an Army Ranger, right? And you have to go on like a tour of, you're going to go out in the woods for a few days and you don't know if you're going to have food or not.
Well, that's like linebackers versus, you could see them out of uniform walking down the side of the street and you'll be like, no way are they healthy. And then it could be a football player that is a star, amazing, and does this. So you don't know.
Right.
So
for you to set a goal for someone else doesn't work.
Yeah. Right. So the trainer in me, yes, I could see someone and say, hey, you could work on this, tighten that, do that.
But that's just for physical appearance.
Yeah, but
that's not health.
And we're not sure because you don't know the health. And we've talked about that before. How do you judge someone's health? And honestly, I don't think you can. I mean, a doctor can because they have blood tests and other
everything
things.
you do.
Exactly. Yeah. But on the outside,
people won't exactly admit to everything.
You can't. Exactly.
I know I wouldn't.
So with that being said, even though I don't have my abs right now, I am as healthy as ever. No, I'm just kidding. I eat my cookies, but don't judge me.
Well, I think sometimes we get dissatisfied with where we are, but I think we always need to go back to, hey, I'm making this decision and I'm making this change. And if it takes me a little while, I'm okay. I'm not dying, if I need to just lose a little fat, it's not nothing that I need to really kill myself to do, chasing my ego so I can get that Instagram picture.
You're nuts.
You just see people that do that,
man.
And you hate it for them because you know that, like I say, keeping that going for a long time might not happen if that's.
Well, now they have all those filters where they make the 8-year-olds look like they're 18. I mean, all these disturbing.
Yeah, and it's and maybe you could use some of that physique to motivate you, but we don't want to encourage that a physique is what makes you healthy because you could be taking all kind of terrible chemicals to get that physique.
I will tell you, which I never recommend, but I will tell you, even whenever I was competing, I remember the only reason that prompted that was my sister said, genetically, we can't get abs. And I was like, maybe you, but I don't believe that. I can do anything I want. And I was young and arrogant. And so I went to a friend of mine that she was a bodybuilder at the gym. And I said, hey, I want to have abs. My sister says I can't. So in 6 weeks, I had abs. Well, then when I got into the fitness world and I went to a camp once, and my coach, she says, you are a genetic freak. Everything is in place. And she goes, all these girls here, they've been doing this years, and you've been doing this weeks, and they will never have certain muscles in certain areas, like the back of your hamstring, your capsule on your shoulders, just because genetically they can't get it. So some people need to keep that in mind. Not everybody can have the same base, and they don't have the same base. So you can, no matter how hard you try,
look at somebody and
can't say
my
I want
body's
that.
Gonna be just like that.
It can't happen. So, I mean, it just doesn't. But the next step that we would do in initiating and assessing those actions after acknowledging your successes and maximizing the learning is determining the next action step. So, okay, well, you've been this week, you're training for that 5K, and you've been running 2 days a week for, 2 miles. So let's the next week or next time we meet. And if they say, well, hey, I can go that 2 miles, I'm still doing fine. I could go another mile. Then, okay, then it's okay. We'll do that next mile. Well, if they decide also I would want to add a third day. So it's that next action step that they decide.
But there's, and just by your example, I'd like to maybe dig into that just a hair, because I believe it's something that has affected me and it may affect other people. Is sometimes we get impatient with wanting to see the results, and we work too hard.
Or you start at the end, and instead of working diligently,
Well, I was moving more toward like we only have so much energy, and if I use all my energy and then I get myself sick, then I go backwards.
True.
So to me right now, energy management is a huge thing, and it may not be something you've learned about or heard about, but this is just in my mind how I feel. Like, do I want to put that machine on 7 or do I want to keep it at 5? Because I'm going to do this the entire week. And if I basically use up more of my energy than I have, my body's not going to recover for me to do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely knowing your limitations and feeding those and not overdoing it. That's huge.
But like you said before, if I watch routines of people that have a similar body that I'm shooting for, and then I don't realize that maybe they're taking something that I'm not, they could do more of a routine than I could ever recover from. Even though we might be similar in stature, we might do similar
over time
weight.
You can build up endurance and things naturally and healthy. But I do think knowing your limitations, that's one thing is I have to pride myself in all through high school and college and running and all the activities I've ever done in the fitness world. I have never, and knock on wood, I'm knocking on wood, that I don't ever do it, but pull a muscle. And whenever they're like, yeah, I pulled this, I did this. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, that would have easily been avoided if they stretched ahead of time, plenty of water, their warm up, and they didn't overdo their weights. Yeah. And that's why I will always recommend if someone is not in a gym doing weight training, but they're wanting to start with lower weights and higher reps. And then you do it until you're just burnt out or tired of counting. And 20 is a good number. And then you can go up from there. Now, if it's women who want to stay lean, go up to 50 if you want but my son, my 14-year-old, he is determined not to stunt his growth. He thinks that he will damage his growth plates if he does heavy weights. So he's like, I'm only doing girl weights.
Yeah.
So,
and maybe that's a crutch.
And I let him do his thing.
Yeah.
He's fine. He's 14. So he has abs naturally and eats peanut butter and chocolate donuts. But it's just like he's 14. Yeah. Just like you. No, but but basically that's just all of that can be avoided. Those who say, oh, I'm just going to get sore. You do, but that means you're working that muscle. It doesn't mean you have to be so sore you're out for 3 days. Then guess what? You did too much then if you're not used to it.
Where I ran into my problem was I was taking a pre-workout, and the pre-workout allowed me to work out beyond my body's potential to where I couldn't recover after that pre-workout had processed through me. And even though I could take another pre-workout the next day to kind of give myself that energy to get through that workout, what I realized was maybe I'm overloading my energy balance. And so I stopped taking the pre-workout, and then my workouts could not last as long. So I forced myself to do less.
I definitely recommend building up the endurance and tolerance naturally. If you're in like just a funk after a while and it's something that you're just like, you feel that pre-workout is safe and effective and you want to try it, that's your prerogative. And it either way, but that's one thing I've never done as a pre-workout, and it's what I had is what I had, and I gave it.
Right. We're not suggesting a pre-workout. I just kind of, going over these things, like how they evolve, what the things we might run into with you coaching or with you yourself, or maybe some things that people like they may be going through, but they're not aware. They may take pre-workout and then they may work out and then they may not eat right, or they may eat right, but then they can't recover. you
Mhm.
know. So I like to at least dig into that, because I think I'm very mindful about
Mhm.
what I'm doing, and I may not always use the right approach, but at least I can think about it and I can analyze it. And I think that's what we're doing, is to encourage people to be mindful.
Yes, and if someone I had a patient that came to me like you are, and they weren't sure, kind of like you are in that, I would definitely uh, ask them to implement or explore exercises for mind and body connection, to really listen to their body and not just say, "Oh, brush it off, I'm
That's
just
very important.
tired," and then have a coffee or a soda or a Monster or a pre-workout. Or I mean, because I am caffeine is the top drug in America, and I do drink coffee, and I will have that sweet tea occasionally at that Thanksgiving or family reunion. Or like you've seen me sip on a soda before. I mean, it might be, every other month, nothing regularly, because I don't. But caffeine, if I could give up anything, which I could, let's rephrase that. If I wanted to give up anything right now, I mean, it would be caffeine, because it's not
Not
good.
sugar.
I like my sugar,
You don't want to
but
give up the
I
sugar.
don't want to give up the
Okay.
sugar.
So at
But
least
I
you're being
would
honest
like to
about the
give
things
up
you want to
caffeine. I
change.
would,
Okay.
and it's just something. I guess the biggest struggle that goes back to it is that coffee with my husband when we go on our walk, a 2 mile walk, and we sip
Does the
that
coffee
coffee.
really throw you off that much?
It's him wants me to have that coffee, so because to sip it with him, and honestly, I could probably switch it out with just like warm almond milk or something.
Lemon water.
Yeah, and he wouldn't know, but when it's cold and it's just easier now. But honestly, it doesn't get me going. Like a lot of people are
No,
like,
I
I
think
need
it
coffee.
does the opposite to you, it seems. No, I mean, that's what we've recognized.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I mean, even him, I honestly think if he had, because he wakes up and he has a coffee and he works out, I think anyone could get off of that over time, and that's what a lot of clients come, and that caffeine is something that they do want to, because you're talking about less headaches, less afternoon fatigue.
Yeah,
You are promoting more
some
dopamine and energy on your
caffeine
own.
does have some negative effects.
It has many negative
Yeah.
effects. So,
And some of the pre-workouts have like 450 milligrams,
and
which
that's
is
why I
like
definitely say don't
6 cups of coffee.
add any extras like that.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know a lot of our listeners are huge into energy drinks and Monsters, and that's their breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And
I've never gone down that path and achieved a result I was
or
happy
even
with.
Mountain Dew, I think, is the
Yeah.
same way.
Yeah.
So, I
High
mean,
caffeine. Yeah.
I mean, I'd definitely say, uh, I, I'm not telling anyone don't do this and don't do that. I would say, why don't you try a water before that?
Or listen to your body when you do it.
Yeah, listen to your body. If you're getting sweats or jittery, or your heart's
Your
just
stomach
kind of,
hurts.
or you're upset in your stomach,
Yeah.
then maybe, switch it with a water. And if you still desire it, then it's, again, your prerogative. But
Yeah.
I mean, they know what it is in it, and they know if it's good or bad. And if you're unsure and I'm not being clear, then Google it. I mean, if
Yeah.
you want. But I mean, everyone knows caffeine isn't
Yeah,
best for
had
you.
a friend that said, "Man, I got 2 pre-workouts on sale." And I'm like, "Great. What were they? What was in them?" Because he was more focused on that he got pre-workouts for cheap than what was in the pre-workout, because it does matter.
Absolutely.
How
So,
safe is that one? Is kind of
yeah.
where I
So
was going with it.
everybody, I mean, and I would put the Monsters on the same category as the pre-workout or Red Bull or whatever is the
Over a
happening
period
one.
of time, it's going to affect you.
Yeah.
It just will.
So, all right, stage 9 we're at is the maintaining your behavior change and supporting next steps in personal health planning. And that would be keeping up with your routine until it does become a natural behavior and it is second nature. And then at that point, if you feel comfortable into putting your focus on a new behavior change, because that one's coming naturally, then absolutely
So
implement it.
we've worked through the process, for people. And if they want to become a member, or if they're interested for their company, they want to maybe get a group rate, you can look us up at WelllnessWayUSA.com, and you can look at all of our prices, our packages, Lori's credentials, all the stuff's on the website. If you want to contact her, you can click the info and you can email us. Do you have anything you want to add to this today? Because we're going to continue this.
Actually, I guess maybe getting more into the each steps. I think we could save that for a new pod,
Okay,
and
so we're gonna
digging in.
decompose it a little more next time.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So, Lori, if you want to reach Lori, you can contact very simply info@wellnesswayusa.com. Just send us an email. We'll get it to her, and then she'll contact you about either having coaching done outside of ours membership, or if you want a membership, or if you want a group rate. It's nothing to it. We have telemedicine built in with our products, and then the wellness side is the Wellness Way USA. We use that to support wellness, and to complement your health.
Yeah, and members, there's also an option to walk you through each of these steps on your own if it's something that you feel that you could do without, or you wanted to keep it more confidential. Even though everything I go through is HIPAA compliant, we are, so nothing. It stays confidential. No employers.
And even though we're not really passing any health information, we still
but sometimes I'll come
protective.
Absolutely. But I would say we have a program that you could do online, and you get the literature and information yourself, or through our app. I mean, not online, or you can do face-to-faces. So we do have it a la carte or as a group.
Right. So once again, if you want to check that out, WellnessWayUSA.com. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you
for going over this process, which is a little more in depth than people realize, but I think the results speak for themselves, and I think people have a much better realization of where they are and where they want to be. So thank you, and we're going to dig into this a little more on the next one that we do of our integrative care. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, and God bless.